Imagine a world where angels descend from heaven, seduce human women, and spawn giant bloodthirsty monsters. These aren't ordinary creatures. They tower 450 feet tall, the height of a 40-story skyscraper.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just doing a live stream today. Not going to be something super
devour everything in their path, consuming.
We're just going to take a look at some of the recent videos released by everybody, Mythvision, Gnostic, Seaman, everybody. So let's go.
All food meant for humanity. And when that isn't enough, they turn on mankind as cannibalistic predators. Sorcery and warfare are taught to humanity by...
I gotta say, this AI videos, I was trying to make some, and this is really good. I like this. If people haven't ran into Mythvision before, they should really like this.
Rogue celestial beings. The earth plunges into violence and chaos. This sounds like the plot of a blockbuster fantasy film, but it's actually from an ancient scripture, once revered by early Jews and Christians, only to be banned from the Bible and lost to history for over 1,000 years. Welcome to Mythvision's Banned, Lost, and Forgotten Scriptures. I'm your host, Derek, and today we're uncovering the shocking lost visions of First Enoch, or 1 Enoch. A book so controversial, so mythically rich.
You see, I was going to do an episode on Enoch, but I wanted to bring a guest on to talk about it. And, we haven't had it yet, so... This is great. We'll start here, guys, and then we're going to go check out Seaman's new video.
And so influential that its fingerprints can still be found throughout Christian and Jewish theology, even though most believers have never heard of it. Before we dive in, be sure to subscribe to catch all of our episodes exploring the ancient text that shaped religious history, but didn't make the final cut. Trust me, after hearing about celestial rebellions, antediluvian giants, and cosmic journeys beyond the stars, you'll want to see what else we uncover. Let's start with some
ancient origins.
Historical context. First Enoch, also called the Ethiopic Book of Enoch, is a collection of ancient Jewish writings attributed to Enoch, the mysterious...
I had a professor the other day talking about some of the apocryphal writings. I guess the Ethiopian Old Testament has the Book of Enoch included in it.
Great-grandfather of Noah, who appears briefly in Genesis 5:24. The Bible tells us only that Enoch walked with God, then he was no more, because God took him. This tantalizing verse suggests Enoch never died, but was taken directly to heaven.
My hair will never look as good as Derek's, by the way.
Making him the perfect...
But just to be funny, Derek, if you're watching this, I can totally tell your dad's an SF guy because you look just like an SF guy.
candidate to receive divine secrets. As scholar Bart Ehrman notes, who better to pen an apocalypse? A man who actually lived with God above. This isn't some medieval fan fiction. Fragments of 1 Enoch were discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls, confirming parts of it were already circulating by 200 to 150 BCE, centuries before Christianity.
So the one thing that I think matches up here that everybody can agree on, I think a lot of people would say that they think Enoch was written after the Old Testament writings, which even if you push that date up to the 400s, 500s, and let's say you're being really aggressive and saying the 300s, I feel like people still have said that Enoch was still written afterwards. Kind of like how Revelation was written a little bit later. Let's go.
Christianity emerged. Written primarily in Aramaic, it was one of the most popular Jewish writings in the final 2 centuries before the Common Era. You see, 1 Enoch isn't a single story. but a compilation of 5 sections. The Book of the Watchers, which is chapters 1 through 36. The Book of Parables, chapters 37 to 71. The Astronomical Book, which is chapter 72 to 82. The Book of Dreams, chapter 83 to 90. And the Epistle of Enoch, chapter...
All right, this is perfect because this is exactly what I wanted somebody to do on the show. But since we got dudes that are way better at making videos than me, but some of y'all I know don't watch their videos anymore. And I would say I'm guilty of the same thing. I don't watch anyone's stuff anymore just because now that I have a YouTube, I'm doing the best I can to make any amount of content. And then, to be honest, I think all of y'all are the same way. Taking a break from this Gnostic stuff, this whatever alternate religious stuff, it's kind of like when you get sick of watching the news and you're just sick of watching all the crap that's constantly being fueled through the news. Sometimes I get a little burnt out on watching or reading and researching this stuff.
90 to 108. Scholar George W. E. Nicholsberg explains that these are Jewish apocalyptic traditions that date from the last 3 centuries before the Common Era. What makes 1 Enoch particularly fascinating is how it expands on a mere 4 verses from Genesis 6, 1 through 4.
Yeah, I need to ask Derek how he did. I'm going to be honest. Derek has way more books than I got. Derek has read way more shit than I have read. And he's had, expert. My channel is not even hardly a channel, so far. Thanks to the Babylonians, we were able to go from about 100 people to like 1,200 in a few days after they shared one of the videos that I used to do. And honestly, people have been asking me to do the PowerPoint stuff again. I took all those down to redo them. And Seaman's been doing a really good job with the same kind of format. I kind of want to just let him do those, and I'll do my live streams and my investigative podcasts, whatever.
4. A cryptic biblical passage about sons of God mating with human women. James Vanderkam, a leading Enoch scholar, observes that the book seizes upon a hero from the Hebrew Bible and expands upon scriptural stories about him. In other words, the authors of 1 Enoch took one of the Bible's most mysterious stories and blew it up into a dramatic cosmic saga. And what a saga it is. When we look at the book of Enoch, it's really about humanity being trapped in cycles we can't control.
I got to give it to Derek, man. This editing is awesome. Look at this microphone. Jeez. Talk about like if a lot of musicians that I'm friends with, they don't always have the best equipment. But talk about having the stuff for like a recording studio. You can rent out your stuff. Anyway, go.
The Watchers fall, chaos spreads. Human beings inherit patterns of corruption and struggle. Enoch steps in as this visionary who sees through the chains, offering a way to break free.
This looks like an Albrecht Dürer, but I don't think it is.
And honestly, that ancient theme still hits home. Because let's face it, we all wrestle with cycles of our own. Not fallen angels, of course, but stress eating, midnight cravings, and habits that keep us stuck. And personally, for my health, that's where I found Hypnosio to be a game changer. It's not a fad diet or some extreme workout plan. It's a self-hypnotherapy app that goes much deeper, working on the subconscious patterns that actually keep us in those cycles. Whether you're a parent juggling...
Oh, you son of a bitch. You just put a damn advertisement in this thing. Oh, you slick.
Life and sneaking snacks when stressed, a professional fighting cravings at the desk, or someone who's just tired of the yo-yo of dieting, Hypnosio is for you. It's about creating a healthy relationship with food without obsessing.
Is this a semaglutide?
Over every calorie. The real power here is that Hypnosio doesn't just mask the problem. It literally helps rewire your brain, restructuring neural pathways, breaking subconscious barriers, and building emotional resilience. That's what makes food stop controlling you. I can tell you firsthand it's changed how I relate to food. My late night snacking is almost gone. And when I do reach for something,
I'm curious as to what this is. Let's keep going.
choosing healthier options naturally without forcing it. No rules, no calorie counting, just freedom from that old cycle, those chains. And it's not just me. Clinical studies show hypnotherapy helps people lose twice as much weight compared to traditional methods. And here's what's wild: 94% keep it off long term. Plus, it only takes a few minutes a day, no drastic life overhaul required. So if you're ready to step out of those cycles, the same way Enoch envisioned humanity escaping the grip of the Watchers, check out Hypnosio. Click the link below to get 15% off your first plan. This is one of those rare approaches that actually lasts. Now, back to Enoch, because just like Hypnosio
I am so curious as to what this product is.
gives us tools to break destructive patterns today, Enoch's story reveals how ancient people imagined breaking free from cosmic cycles of corruption. Let's get back into the text and see how his vision reshaped the world of early Judaism and beyond. The first section, the Book of the Watchers, plunges us into a world before the flood. 200 angels called the Watchers are assigned to observe humanity from the heavens, led by their chief, Shemihaza. These celestial beings
Shemihaza. It's my dog.
look down from their lofty posts and become infatuated with human women. Imagine a midnight conspiracy on Mount Hermon, where Shemihaza gathers his fellow angels and says,
"Come, let us descend and take wives from among the beautiful daughters of men."
All 200 swear a binding oath to descend to earth in defiance of divine order, driven by forbidden desire. Down they come, these Watchers falling in every sense. They marry human women and father children, but these offspring are monstrous. They are the Nephilim giants of terrifying size and strength.
Now, I've watched some videos on Enoch forever ago, and they all feel about the same. You know, the information all feels about the same when it comes to that. Now, there's one place in Enoch that I do want to look at before we switch to another video, and it's has to do with root cutting. So we'll get to it in a second while I look it up.
One Enoch gives a jaw-dropping detail. These giants stood 300 cubits tall, roughly 450 feet. Picture creatures the size of modern skyscrapers stomping through ancient villages. These hybrid offspring quickly consume all of humanity's food supply, and when that's not enough, they turn to eating actual people. The text graphically describes how the giants ate the flesh of men and drank the blood, spreading terror across the earth. But the horror doesn't stop there. While their giant sons wreak havoc, the fallen Watchers corrupt humanity in subtle ways. They begin teaching humans forbidden knowledge, arts and technologies that mortals were never meant to possess.
All right, guys, so let's just take a quick look over here. I'm just on ChatGPT, nothing special. ChatGPT is not factual. Sometimes they literally will give you fake citations, but you can use ChatGPT, and if you tell it, find me actual sources that actually exist, that I can actually cite, that have to talk, that deal with X, Y, or Z. Go find the sources, read the passages, and make sure that what you're reading has to do with what you're trying to cite. And make sure it's saying whatever it is that you're trying to say as well. Now, if you cite something just randomly out of a book, and then you hope nobody goes and looks, well, that's what's been happening with the quest for the burning purple. All right. So when you say root cutting, you're most likely thinking of the section in 1 Enoch. Go. Hypnotizing online hypnotherapy magic. Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry, I was reading the comments. When you say root cutting, specific passage is in 1 Enoch 7:1-2 and 1 Enoch 8:3, where it says one of the angels, Simjaza, and his companions. All right, so we got 1 Enoch 7:1-2. right here. Now, this isn't an actual source. I'm not reading it from, crossbible.com, even though I'm sure he has the Book of Enoch there. I wouldn't see why he would not. Hopefully, one day Cross Bible will also have all of the Nag Hammadi. He might also already. I've looked a lot on the website, but I haven't looked at everything. So the Watchers descended and taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots and made them acquainted with plants. All right, so for sure, without a doubt, if we're looking at old Judaic, practices, whatnot, it wouldn't surprise me if they had a story about some sort of, demigod, hybrid gods, making, teaching them the knowledge of the plants and stuff. I mean, after all, that's what we say is one of the hidden undertones of the biblical apothecary that we see even in the New Testament, and arguably other passages that could be alluding to this, biblical apothecary knowledge, if you will. And we talk about that a lot on the show, obviously. That's the one passage, like the Pentecostal church. I have 2 passages out of the Bible that I use to justify believing in Christianity or liking being a Christian, if you will, and just thinking from an anthropological perspective, being a fan of this Jesus the Christ character, just like you would Achilles or Hercules, but being a fan of the character and the mystery that we can't ignore anymore. We've read too many books. We've watched too many things. All right, so 1 Enoch 8:3, Kazideja, or Kasteja. Sorry, y'all, if I'm butchering this. I am a meathead. Taught the smiting of spirits and demons and the smiting of the embryo in the womb, that it may pass away, and the bites of the serpent, and the cutting of the roots, the knowledge of plants. So it's clear that these passages are 100% referring to entheogenic roots or just medicines of any kind, however they're distributed or administered, however, it does not matter. So the root cutting is part of the Watchers' illicit instruction in magical occult arts associated with herbalism, possibly even abortion, which was a thing. We covered on the last episode. We covered no Nag Hammadi on Cross Bible, and he wouldn't. Oh man, my boy Steve. I gotta try to talk him into it, and we have to petition him to turn the website Tyrian purple, of course. Jesus is Primo's son. Everyone knows this. Oh my God, here we go. Here's Mandy. Guys, Mandy Moorhall and I, we're going to do an episode soon. He's looking at maybe one of the Friday afternoons. I was trying to take a little bit of a break, but today I'm chilling for a little while with not a lot to do. So I got my camera off and we're looking at a bunch of stuff. Marcel will jump in later. I'll peace out for a little bit and come back. We're just going to be, doing stuff that we haven't done in a while. So let's go back to Enoch.
The chief watcher, Azazel, taught men to make swords, knives, shields, and bracelets, ornaments, and eyeshadow, effectively introducing warfare and seduction into primeval society. Another angel teaches enchantments and root cutting, essentially witchcraft and occult medicine. Others teach astrology, the tracking of stars, and various forbidden arts. The earth becomes overrun by giant bullies and washed in violence. 1 Enoch says, men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. Humanity stands.
So I never thought I'd be doing a video about this topic, but it's important to understand that the rectal applications of medications in antiquity were used for healing and religious experiences. Simple as that, and it is clearly in the historical record. Rectal applications of medications in antiquity. It's so easy, you can get it on me. It's just, well, it's everywhere. AI knows it, Wikipedia, everybody knows this. Is just.
Oh my gosh. All right. So here we go, guys. I am sorry for the visuals. We're in there. We are in there right now. Let's do it.
Straightforward. It's in the literature. So you had enemas and suppositories. Where were they used? Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, Rome, India, and China. So very simple. Now, what kind of motivated me to go in this direction and do this is because of these guys and the uproar that they've created. It's unbelievable. Okay, so we know medical applications and mystical and religious experiences were the reason for putting drugs.
So the only problem that we're having with the insertion of these insertions is we don't have this being described in the Bible at all. We don't have any of this in the Bible or even in Thomas or none of the stuff. None of the Nag Hammadi has anything showing this instruction with the graphic description and the descriptive words that we would need to assume that this is what was happening with either the spikenard or any of the medications at all, 100%. Now, the concept of them doing this, sure, it just in general, people in general doing this, oh yeah, for at 100%. There's modern day practices, and then there's some ancient ones too. However, let's just let this keep going. I'm not going to
up your ass. Very simple. So we're going to look at mystical and religious experiences. Where would this have been done? Very interestingly, if you put into the Google search field, rectal applications of hallucinogens in antiquity, we come right to the Mayans. Ritual enemas were a significant part of Mayan culture, using religious and healing. Well, if you take the same drug for healing and you go more, like Mandrake can be used for healing, you take more Mandrake.
We've talked a lot about Mandrake here on the show in some past live streams. Obviously, it's not like the big one that, I mean, it was insanely popular to the point where obviously, like, Harry Potter and, the New Age things sort of related to this stuff, are still talking about it, using it in the folklore and whatnot.
You can hallucinate. You take too much Mandrake, you die. So
right, and I've never even thought about taking Mandrake. Any kind of joke having a Christian church that uses entheogens. Obviously, according to all the research that we have, there are safer options that have a 0% chance of death, as long as you don't have any, comorbidities or anything like that. But let's keep going.
Depends upon how much you use. And Mandrake was used in ancient Greek. So that's just an example. And it's not just the Mayan cultures. You'll see in a couple of seconds. There are others in Mesoamerica. So the purpose of what?
Now, not that I can remember everything, and not that I was studying or researching entheogens living in Panama. However, living in Panama as a kid for 3 years, our family, when we moved away, kind of mentally stayed in Panama. And you could arguably say that there wasn't a time that was as good as living in Panama for my family, even though we did have some really awesome things growing up. We had horses and stuff and whatever. But, it's when you get to live as a military family in Central America, especially even during a war that happened for a few months there. My mother being the anthropology major, she's a real big fan of all the South American, Central American, Mesoamerican, religions and practices. And if you're an anthropology major, there's no way you don't learn about some of these practices. Maybe not in extreme detail, but enough to get the idea.
Ritual enemas. Look, ritual enemas. Going to visit Uronos in Mesoamerica. For faster and more potent drug absorption, they used enemas, right? So you you got digestive issues going oral. So why? They sought a rapid intoxication to achieve a deeper trance for divination, communing, and what? The biggie, really, making sense of adverse events in your.
And this is one of the reasons why I try to cover anything that has to do with entheogens. And it's not so much that I'm trying to, get everybody to run out and, jump on these things. Absolutely not. In fact, if you're not familiar with any of this stuff, you kind of don't want this to be the first thing you run to, obviously. And you don't want to venture down an extreme path of trying things that are extremely risky. You definitely don't want to do that. I never would advocate for something like that.
Culture and in your life. And that's why people go down and do their ayahuasca trips anyway, to get a look into themselves, right? The subconscious is revealed.
Ayahuasca can be intense. We have guys who come on the show who are familiar with ayahuasca, extremely familiar with it, and have made it and have microdosed and megadosed it a bazillion times. And we've even seen pictures of the concoctions and, live trip reports and after action reviews of it and whatnot. Of course, I've never done any entheogens on camera, but maybe one day we'll have a guy come on during an experience so that people can see that a lot of times you're completely coherent. It's just you can feel a difference
when you go into one of these things, apparently. I've never been, but that's what they say. Okay, so other cultures, you can see them all, Olmecs, you can read them yourself. They use toad toxins.
Yeah, the Sonoran desert toad, otherwise known as the Colorado River toad, very common in North America. I used to own one. You can get them from Blackwater Reptiles, about $65, $80, and they're very easy to take care of.
Toad toxins. Dogs sometimes will lick frogs, I think, and they get stony baloney. I think that happens.
Yes, and not only that, there are other frogs. There's the waxy monkey frog, otherwise known as the Cambo frog, which they have a substance they call Cambo, which is the gel secretion that will make something hallucinate at least enough to spit out the frog, and it can get away to safety. You'll find this down in South America, and it's more of a tree frog. So it can get away easier, can climb trees, whatever. Whereas the toad, can't climb trees. It just hops around. But two completely different substances.
So who else has been involved in this? Any other culture use enemas to deliver drugs? Oh, ancient Greeks used enemas for drug delivery.
So one of the assumptions here with the purple butthole magic that we graciously so discovered from Dr. Armand Hillman is the concept here is that there was an antibacterial quality to the dye. Now, I guess I have read that in different articles. And obviously, we've talked about how some of the different shells and stuff were used for like making toothpastes. And so I guess the assumption here is that this purple dye would have been added to some kind of suppository solution.
Now, would they use more for medicinal stuff? I mean, after medicinal for hallucinogenic stuff? Well, of course they would. Who wouldn't? Someone's going to experiment, and then they're going to see, Uranus, and now they got a thing like the Eleusinian Mysteries. And I'm not saying they were doing enemas. My point is a little bit heal, a little more feel good, a little more Uranus. So, for clarity, what are medication options for suppositories? I can't believe I've got to make this clear, but I have to because this moron philologist thinks that a suppository itself is a medication. It is not. The medication is used in the suppository. The suppository, like, say, cocoa butter.
All right, there we go. So this is where me and Seaman have some similarities. The misdirection of the satirical theater has got people regurgitating things that you know where it came from the minute they type it into your comments or the minute that they say it to you. And this is where we're starting. This is how we're able to sort of sort of fact check in a way, or source check people before they've even told us where it came from. We know exactly where you heard something if you're using certain rhetoric the wrong way. So like if people say Christing, we know it was from Hillman. If people refer to everything that people are using as a drug, it's coming from Hillman. So sometimes there's a lack of originality with the Babylonians, because sometimes they don't actually go look any of this stuff up, but they'll repeat something that they can't really elaborate on without just referring back to the source. So what Seaman's doing here is he's explaining to y'all that you're misunderstanding the satire theater, and you're going around finding, people in front of gas stations trying to sell Bibles, and you're trying to have these conversations with them that you can only explain so well because you haven't really understood the material. So let's keep going.
You melt it, you add your ingredients, you cool them back up, shove it up the poop hole, and now you've got pain reduction. You put a lot in there. Uranos. So suppository delivery of opiates. Suppository delivery, right? Delivery, the drug. The suppository is not the medication. The suppository is the delivery device for the medication. So all types of drugs can be delivered rectally or orally, depending upon need. Why do we do rectal? Faster absorption. So what we're going to do.
So real quick, guys, coffee enemas. Not that y'all should go out and do it, but my friend, he does coffee enemas every day, because apparently he just says it works better than when I drink it. And y'all probably know what he's talking about. That laxative and detoxification effect. I get what he's saying. I guess to a degree, it doesn't have to go through your liver twice from drinking it, and then from it being in the bloodstream and then going to the liver again. And that is something that we do in the bodybuilding world. Sometimes if you don't want something to go through the liver twice, you have to administer it in a way to where it wouldn't have to. So oral steroids, for example, they are, they have a toxicity. Some are worse than others. And if you want to bypass one of the trips through the liver, and every other organ that it's going to filter through, but if you can do what's called an intramuscular injection of said steroid or chemical or substance, whatever it is that you're talking about. And just to be clear, guys, anything taken orally can be taken intramuscularly and arguably also taken subcutaneously. It just depends on how you've made it and if you've killed the product trying to put it into an injectable form. Now, instead of orally taking steroids, if there was a way to take it anally, I'm sure people would. However, they have these ointments that you smear on your balls, or you smear on your, on your skin in, places around different blood vessels and whatnot, that will administer the testosterone into the bloodstream. But you can imagine that having to go through your integumentary system, your skin, it's going to not be as effective as if you put it into an orifice. So dip, for example, people, they cram a bunch of shaved tobacco in their lip and then it directly into the bloodstream, right? You could put that dip up your ass, but I don't know if you want to experience that. Let's go.
Now is look at these. We're going to look at acetaminophen, right? Just Tylenol, which is not emotional, hopefully, for the poor people who are freaking out about Mark 14:51. So here we are. Methods of drug delivery in ancient Greece, according to the LSJ lexicon that every classicist and legit Bible scholar will say is the place to go to get your Greek words translated into English and to be shown the history and use of the word over time. It's a friggin' amazing lexicon. So we today can drink our Tylenol. We can eat tablet. Our Tylenol, you could crack it up and put it in food and then eat it if you wanted to, right? You can eat your Tylenol. You're not going to really plaster your Tylenol, and you can Christ your Tylenol. Now, why is that the case? It's because, here you can see, pharmaca. So drug applied outwardly is a Christa. A drug applied outwardly is a Christ, period. Jesus was the dude. Christ is a drug. And what did Jesus tell people to do in Revelation 3:18? En Chrise tus ophthalmus. Christ your eyes su eine blepe, so that you may see. Christ your eyes with what? Collodion, a salve that is medicated. That can be medicated with healing stuff, right? Or it can be medicated with hallucinogens. So a Christa, a Christ is a ointment. Forget ointment, because that word didn't even exist until 1300. What word would have been used? Well, Christ was used. Next would have been unguent in Latin. Those are the words. So what was the best way to look at what a Christ is? A salve or a cream? Salve, cream, paste. Salve cream is best. Paste, pasty, you get a little harder plasters. So here's your plaster, cataplaston. What is this? Brosima. This is edible. And here you have your drinkables, the pota. So back in ancient Greece, you had 4 methods of drug delivery. You could drink your drug, eat your drug, plaster your drug, or Christ your drug. Simple as that. Very uncomplicated. Very unemotional. It's emotional for weak-willed sissies who just...
Hey guys, so if for y'all that are just now jumping in, I got a long day chilling, and I'm going to be sort of stationary, so my camera's off. We're doing a live stream episode just so I don't have to take time away from all my family time at home. I got a new baby, 14-year-old and a 7-year-old. So right now, Mama's been breastfeeding. Shout out to Lady Witch Doctor. And she's been doing a phenomenal job. And her diet's been on point the entire pre, peri, and post-pregnancy. All of her symptoms are very minimal. Steven's not sleeping super great, but he's been sort of cluster feeding all day. Let me tell you, that is a mama's boy already. He loves his mama. And he'll let me hold him and stuff like that. He's got to have a full belly, and typically when I hold him, he's trying to work it back out. But I did send to my regulars, Tiger, Shark, and Chase, I did send them a link, so we might see them later today. Don't want to bring on too many guests. However, if Mandy Moorhall is insanely bored today, I have been waiting for the opportunity to have him on. Today might not be the best day for that, since I would have to have co-hosts sort of helping me carry this torch. But don't worry, guys. We got to, hopefully in the next week or so, we'll pick a night where I can bring Mandy on and we can do the last piece of the Quest of the Burning Purple. So we have another thing that we're going to be doing today once Marcel's here. We're going to be looking at some more of the cited quotes from the Carrier article, as promised, to Stephen Nelson from crossbible.com, my childhood friend. And so anyway, let's go.
Just can't take what words actually mean and separate out the beautiful message of Jesus, which is beautiful. I mean, there's bad stuff, as Hillman has pointed out. The beautiful message of Jesus, versus the Christ stuff, which is actually medication. It does not mean anointed one. It does not mean Messiah. That is pure bullshit. Christ is a drug. Jesus is characterized as the Messiah. Christ is a drug. And Chrise tus ophthalmos.
Let me just think like a, slow kid that's in art school real quick. If Christos means an anointed one, then the Messiah, or however I say it, I'm trying to sound smarter than I am, that would also mean the anointed one. But we have an interpretation, as far as I'm understanding this, that the Messiah, we've given it a definition in addition to what it means. So if I'm not mistaken, any other anointed ones from history would also be called the same thing. However, in the case of Jesus Christos, however you say that, Jesus the Christ, this has become sort of a synergistic term where we're calling him Messiah, and Christos daily, meaning the same thing, but we've given it the definition as being the Son of God now. But if I'm not mistaken, Christos means an anointed one, which any other people who've been anointed, whether it's Achilles or David, it's the same, it would be the same term. Now, I could be completely backwards on this. Somebody jump in and tell me if I'm wrong. So Ali's saying priests and prophets, they were all anointed. But we didn't give them this official title like we've given Jesus, obviously. This has become sort of a signature thing upon the dawning of the religion. And excuse me for not having the best way of describing that, but let's go with Stephen. He's almost done.
Musu eine blepes. So here we go. Let's look at how we can do it today. So we can drink our Tylenol, as I said. Now, I'm not going to show you tablets, but I will show you this. So this would be.
So, Era Sophia, correct. Someone with more brain power than this, somebody better than me, jump in. I've abused myself too much for years. So Messiah is a Hebrew word. Christos is a Greek word. Sorry. So they're the same word. It's just one's Hebrew and one's Greek. So it just depends what word you're choosing to say. The Messiah, the Christos, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same thing. Yeah. You're right. There was a promised anointed one with the apocalyptic mission. Right. So I think people have had a slight misunderstanding, but also not wrong when they refer to those titles. You know what I'm saying? That I think people have been correct when they refer to them. It's just I don't think they know that one's just a Hebrew, one's just a Greek word. You couldn't use them necessarily together in the same sentence. Although you could, but they didn't have to transliterate any of that into a Greek word. They had a Greek word for it. Now, one of the reasons why Hillman is wrong by saying that the Septuagint is the original and that all the Hebrew pieces that have come afterwards, supposedly, the reason why that isn't true is because we have words in Greek that are Hebrew words that there isn't a Greek word for, that they've had to spell out with Greek letters. That's called a transliteration. You see it sometimes, when you look at the dictionary and you look at different words, they show you how to pronounce it. Well, imagine just having that how to pronounce it as the word. And so in order for that to happen, there had to be some Hebrew text that was first to spell this word out that sounds like the Hebrew word because it doesn't exist in Greek. You see how that wouldn't make sense? Maybe I'm not doing the best job, but I will refer everyone to what your pastor didn't tell you. After Amon and Kip had their argument and Kip left, and Amon didn't do a very great job. It's just Kip's a softie, so he ran away from the argument because Amon is really good at debating people, period. He's good at it. And he'll get you pissed. He'll get under your skin, just like that freaking, ephemeron. And so he went on What Your Pastor Didn't Tell You show, and he gave a class on transliterations, idioms, and infinite absolutes that exist in the Hebrew, but not in the Greek. So when you see them in the Greek, it doesn't make sense, but it's because it's a translation. So it's not my words, it's from other PhDs. But that's where people get a little irritated because they don't understand that some stuff was originally Hebrew. Yeah, absolutely. And some stuff, some of those Old Testament, some of the lines and some of the big chunks of it, there are Greek originals. They just weren't in the Hebrew originals. They were added in. And this whole concept that you can't go from a lower technicality to a higher technicality is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard a PhD say in my whole life. Think about it, guys. Every language had a lower technicality before a higher technicality. So if somebody in third grade writes Beauty and the Beast, and I come in college and rewrite the story, and it's been added on to and over-explained and elaborated on in different parts and just restructured, That's going from a lower technicality to a higher technicality. Almost even every copy of writing a fucking book starts as a lower technicality or a rough draft and then goes to a higher technicality. You pull out your thesaurus, you start trying to make it sound like you're more educated than you are, blah, 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 blah. So just for the record, for anybody that keeps trying to drive the stake home, that the Greek Septuagint predates any of the Hebrew texts that are in that Old Testament, you are wrong. And there is proof of this. But let's keep going.
What? This is looks like oil, but it's really neosporin being put onto a Band-Aid. Well, what's neosporin? It's a cream. It's a crema or a crisma. It's a medicated cream. You have medicated salves. What you're looking at on the right, this is a Christ. It is a medicated cream, salve, or probably not oils. I mean, that's kind of foolish. I mean, just all liquidy. So you want to cream it up. So this is a Christ. Not complicated, very simple. So are there Tylenol Christ? Because it's a medicated salve. Yes. Tylenol, cool, pain relieving cream. That is a Christ. By definition, completely consistent with the ancient pharmacon. So it
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I've been putting Tylenol up my ass for years.
is preparation H. If you put preparation up your ass today you Christed your anus with.
I have Christed my anus several times with this stuff. But also, guys, in the bodybuilding world, all of us little gym chads, we put preparation H on our abdominal muscles so that they look nice and shredded because it'll pull all the water right out of that skin.
Preparation H. See, that's exactly consistent. And if you're never heard this before, you're freaking out like a little sissy because you don't know that Jesus is the dude. He was called the Christ because
I don't think it's so much that they don't agree with it. It's that they don't want to think about it.
he is a Christos, which means he's an expert in Christing drug applications. He delivered a Christing drug application in John, Revelations. I mean, he taught my.
Well, he's the Christos because he is the anointed one, and according with the story, they had been waiting for such a man.
Ariamne and Acts of Philip. I mean, it's so obvious, and I've shown the Christing applications in many, many other videos right out of the Bible itself, lining up exactly with the ancient Greek pharmacon that people just can't handle and don't look at. It's just mind-boggling how lazy people are. So let's look at ancient Greek, because we're going back to what we're going to.
Oh, and just real quick, everybody, try to get along in the comments. I know we have satirists here who are ruthless, so please, nobody get offended.
The rectal application medications. So this is from ancient Greek, ancient Egypt, 1500 BC. They had 800 formulations for up the ass treatments. Isn't that unbelievable? I mean, I had no idea. Thanks, Gnostic and Lady Babylon. Look at this, cannabis.
Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make some cannabis suppositories, and Gnostic and Neil are going to have to, or Gnostic and Derek are going to have to do them on a live stream one day. We don't have to see it, but just knowing that it's there.
Suppositories to relieve pain from hemorrhoids. Well, you know, if you put a little bit of cannabis in there, pain relief. You put a lot of cannabis in there.
Guys, I will say something, and I'm not going to elaborate too much, but for those of y'all that have total overall body pain like me from falling like a sack of crap out of airplanes from the Army, or doing construction, or heavy lifting, that's actually the least of the damage I've ever done. Cannabis, my wife we were watching some of the different presentations right now. One of the classes she's finishing up is the history of cannabis. And, it's been around for a while. I think you all know that. We found the Jewish burial sites with at least some burnt offerings, if it wasn't being consumed. It's like those news reporters that went to that house full of drugs on fire. He didn't smoke anything, but boy, he was feeling the Holy Spirit.
Or a little more cannabis in there, you're going to get a little stony baloney. You put a lot of cannabis in there and throw some other stuff, you're going to see, I don't know. So once again, suppositories are not drugs or medicines. They are a drug or medicine delivery method. So in ancient Egypt, they used fat. So beef tallow or pig suey, right? And they added the drug to it. So the tallow is the delivery of the drug.
Well, any kind of fat can be a carrier for, anything, really. It just depends.
So the suppository is the combination of what? The drug and the base. But the suppository itself is not a drug. The suppository is how you deliver the drugs. You can put tallow up your ass and get no drug delivery. Well, you want to call that a suppository? Well, fine. But it's not a drug delivery. Drugs are added to suppositories so that the suppository delivers the drug to the system, bypassing the digestive process. So back in ancient Egypt, they used a bronze tool, long nozzle to do enemas. So in ancient Egypt, up the ass treatments were suppositories or enemas, right? The liquid is not the drug. The liquid is the delivery. The suppository is not the drug. The suppository is the delivery. Very simple. And this classicist, I'm going to show you in a second, had no clue. So here's how you can make suppositories from cocoa butter. You can go online and look. It's very, very simple.
For sure. Like we said, anything that will just, that will hold in the bodybuilding world, we call different things suspension. But that's whether it's in water or if it's in oil, that's just something it's suspended in oil or suspended in water. It's, I think of a better term. My terminology has suffered in the last few years because I haven't really been talking about that kind of stuff. But here we go.
Gently melt the cocoa. Add the active ingredients, the medications like powder, herbs, and medicated oils. And then pour the liquid mixture into suppository molds, let it cool, and put it up the pooper and go to Uranus or just get some relaxation. So this guy, where am I here? Really? I'm stuck. I was enjoying this. God darn it. I never stalled here before. Maybe now. Oh, here we go.
I still like the way he does his presentations. Even though people might disagree with the way he's pulling this information together, it's very, I've done the same thing, if that makes sense. Let's go.
So we're going from here. Now, why am I going to show you next? Because I did a video here. You can see how an illiterate, me or you, can take down a blowhard philologist. This idiot thinks that the medicine itself is a suppository. He has no clue that a suppository is a drug delivery method. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is what he says. The medicine is an anal suppository that has been drenched in the juice of poppy or mandrake. Well, mandrake, you could just use mandrake itself as the medicine. And so you add the mandrake to the suppository base. This idiot thinks a suppository is the drug. What a moron.
So I guess what he's trying to say here is that he's accusing the philologist that we're referring to of thinking that the mandrake itself is the suppository, but the image that or the act that I'm envisioning is somebody taking the mandrake root all balled up in their hand and cramming that just up into their ass. Now, I'm sure you could do that. However, how much that you can extract from that could the amount of chemical that you can extract from the root and then put it into a gel-like substrate, if you will, or substance, it is going to help get more of the drug, if that be what you're trying to do, but also a little bit more pleasant of a feeling probably compared to having a big balled up wad of roots crammed in your asshole. Now, I'm sure we've done it as humans. I'm sure we've done that. I'm sure people have crammed leaves with, up their ass, trying to see if the psychotoria viridis is going to, secrete DMT into the bloodstream that way. Sure. I'm sure that's something that people have done.
So here's mandrake. Mandrake can be used, you can see here, folk remedy.
He is big on the mandrake right now. Once again, not in the Bible at all. All we see is frankincense, myrrh, spikenard, calamus, Some people want to argue that the calamus is cannabis. However, calamus is sweet flag. It itself, the non-mistranslated, it does exist. And it was used in different oils because it smelled really good. But let's go.
Let me get my pointy thing here. Folk remedies. Well, that would not be putting you into Uranus, right, or give you a hallucination with a Greek shaman, right?
Oh, Mandrake is in the Bible, says Allie. Hold on. I thought that was one that wasn't in there. Let me look. Mandrake in the Bible. Sorry. Oh, Genesis. Okay. You're absolutely right. Tiger Shark, you probably brought this up at a certain point. My memory has become absolutely crap. Genesis 30, 14 through 16. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Now, this is just ChatGPT, so this is first grab. Genesis 30 through 14 through 16, the story of Leah, Rachel, and Jacob. Finds mandrakes in the field and brings them to his mother. Rachel asks Leah for some of the mandrakes. Leah responds angrily, saying Rachel has already taken her husband. Rachel then brings Jacob will sleep in Leah that night in exchange for the mandrakes. All right, so the Song of Songs, Mandrake gives you fourth fragrance. Yeah, okay. So, hey, I take that back. For some reason, my brain just thought it was not. There we go. Hey, you know what? That actually helps my argument so much more. Let's go.
Making that up, so don't take it seriously. God, people are so crazy. Folk magic. Well, magic enters you into where? The domain of the hallucinogenic issues. So you put a little mandrake up your ass as a Christos, right? Preparation H is a Christ. You got your petroleum.
So I'm telling y'all getting all angry. Not y'all, but there's people getting all angry with Allie in the comments talking about stuff. I'm like, Allie's right about a lot of shit, y'all. Like every time she shows me stuff, I'm like, yep, there it is. Oh God. Sometimes it makes the it's added to the book so much more, but it's added to the show everything that we were trying to do here. Because even Siemens showing where he disagrees with Hillman, right? And that's what we were doing here. So we're trying to prevent people. And this is no offense to Lady Babylon, but we're trying to educate people just a little bit before they become too big of a zealot for the material. Just so that when they have these conversations with the Mennonites in front of the frickin' gas station, that they'll at least be able to back up some of these outrageous things they're going to say with some kind of text. As long as you can quote some kind of text that talks about the mandrake, then we have the mandrake reference without a doubt, which is where I love this. In fact, Tiger Shark, I am so sorry. I know you've talked about this at least twice, but yeah, good job, Witch Doctor.
Lube in here, which is this isn't a suppository really, right? This is just a delivery. This is just a Christ. You can shove up your ass though, right? Because you can Christ your ass with preparation H. So you add a little bit of mandrake to preparation H and you get like relief of, who knows, hemorrhoid pain. You put a lot of mandrake in there, you can go into the domain of hallucination. You put too much in there, now you're dead. Because mandrake a little bit heals, a lot more Uranus, even more death to Uranus. This guy doesn't understand that. It's absolutely unbelievable. So I'm kind of doing this video as a preparation to roast this guy again. So rectal applications. Here we're going back from the very beginning as I showed you. So I'm going to show you the different countries now so you can see this is not exclusive. This is
all right, so real quick, guys, let's jump over here. Now, I've done this before, probably about a year ago when I started making the PowerPoints that are no longer up. But here we have, I just asked ChatGPT real quick, show me all the different either medications, plants, or roots next to the verses that they come from. So here we go. Mandrake, fertility, aphrodisiac associations, Genesis, Song of Songs. Forgive me if I say it wrong. Hyssop or hyssop. Cleansing, purifying, sometimes symbolic, but also medicinal, used for respiratory issues and ritual sprinkling. I don't want to know. I don't know what that means. Exodus 12:22, Leviticus, Psalm. Frankincense, ritual use, also psychoactive in large doses. We got the myrrh, the resin used in anointing oils, medicine, embalming, mildly psychoactive sedative. We got calamus, possibly sweet cane or cannabosum, debated and linked to cannabis and the holy anointing oil. Yeah, but guys, look up calamus. It's sweet flag or sweet cane. And that is definitely something that might smell good that they might have put into the concoctions, even with something else, just so it smelled a little better. I don't know if y'all have ever like cooked cannabis to make the oil, but it reeks. Your whole house will smell like it. Exodus 30:23, Jeremiah 6:20. Make sure it's on the right page. Yeah, we're good. All right, so we got the aloe, which everybody's used aloe. I got some in my house, and whenever I burn myself or something, I'll throw it in the mix. Balm of Gilead, resin, possibly myrrh or mastic. Healing ointment, resin with strong medicinal use. Genesis, Jeremiah. All right, so fermentation or fermented or intoxicating substances. We got wine. Genesis, Proverbs, Song, John, Timothy. We got strong drink. Likely beer or mead, intoxicating beverage. Leviticus, Numbers, and Proverbs. Maybe this is an ambrosia of some kind. Now spikenard's one of the ones that we've talked about on my PowerPoint presentations. Spikenard is in the same family as valerian. And for those of y'all that have had issues sleeping, you've all heard of valerian root. Valerian root in high concentrations, they call it nature's Valium. And so spikenard, just me piecing this together in my brain, may have the same sort of feelings that valerian has. It's an aromatic root used for perfume and possibly a sedative. I would say sedative isn't crazy, considering that that's sort of what valerian root does. Cinnamon and cassia, part of the anointing oil, warming and stimulating. I can imagine cinnamon, for sure. All right, let's go back. Let's see if anyone's in the studio. We got Tiger Shark. Hey,
what's up, guys? Yeah, just quick on the Mandrake thing, and
let's do it. Yeah. I got all day, bro.
All those are really good sources, but it's literally like the church fathers are doing them, and I'll make the point, the broader context at the end of this. But so I'll go through some of the quotations, and I wrote some of this, and I won't give all of this away, but some of this is going to be in the next Tau Minerva volume that
cool.
drops coming up. But just a couple of these things. So the Feast of Hathor, which is Egyptian, by the way, is celebrated by the people of in Dandara, an ancient town in Egypt. The sun god Ra sent Hathor to earth to slaughter all of humanity. However, after seeing human devastation, the sun god saw the light, wanting to now save humanity. Ra ordered the brewing of mandrake-laced beer on the island of Elephantine. You don't hear Gnostic informant talking about this.
Oh, nice.
This beer was then mixed with the blood of the slain, as Hathor had the affinity for drinking blood. Drinking the mandrake brew mellowed Hathor's heart, and she stopped her slaughter of all humanity. So every year during the Feast of Hathor, September 17th, the people of Dandar and other parts of Egypt would drink the mandrake beer to the saving of humanity. Okay, that's one pretty cool source. Another one is 2nd century Greek proto-scientific text called The Physiologist. Details how mandrake fruit was the forbidden fruit that Adam and Eve ate in the garden, Genesis. So 2nd century here. The book states, elephants should travel eastward toward paradise, where there is a tree called Mandragoria. The elephant and his wife represent Adam and Eve. For when they were, let me expand this a little bit. Pleasing to God, before their provocation of the flesh, they knew nothing of copulation, nor had they knowledge of sin. When Eve ate of the tree of knowledge, which is the Mandragoria means, and gave one of the fruits to Adam, they had to clear out of paradise. That's in the book of Beasts. Turn that down a little. Roman sources and Soli's Law and Hebraic source, of course, the ones that you just mentioned, Song of Solomon and Genesis. Mentioned in Greek sources, obviously was in the Garden of Hecate and Argonautica. Roman Dioscorides, Diametica, and Theophrastus inquiry into plants both suggest mandrake are good for a love potion. In particular, Theophrastus wrote, when the skin is scraped and mixed with vinegar or wine, it makes a love potion. And again, the vinegar or the wine, just like Dionysus has, they say, is all about wine. in my opinion, the reason why the wine and the vinegar are such a big deal is because it's the thing that extracts the compounds, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just about drinking wine, it's actually using the wine to extract the plants to then have the ritual.
Mhm.
And he's obviously the one that can do that, being the god of the vine and all this stuff. So, and then we have Greek comic playwright by Alexis of Thurii wrote The Woman Drugged with Mandrake, or Mangor and the Zemim. Fragments survived via Athanasius 375 BCE, so a comedic playwright about a woman being drugged by Mandrake. Only the fragments exist, so we don't have the full actual play, unfortunately. Orthodox Christians using Mandrake to enter the Godhead. Now, these are the ones you're probably interested in, Witch Doctor. 200 CE, Origin. Everybody knows Origin. On commentary on Genesis, there's a fragment, and it says here, he says, and even as those who have drunk of the mandrake no longer feel the movements of their body, so should those who seek to cultivate virtue empty the cup and thus lull their passions. Origin in 200 CE is recommending mandrake to suppress lust as it puts one in a trance. Similar to the 5th CE Syrian bishop, Theodoret, using opium. And opiate brings deadness to the world and sin, and tranquil sleep, free from all disturbances attained by quaffing the chalice of holy doctrine. 11, so that was pretty early on. And then later, 1160 CE, Trippeter Hollield reads, it's a book. It reads, the bark of mandrake roots brings intoxication. This root denotes God, the image of whom was Christ. On earth he was a man. For us he is a medicine and security for eternal life. He is the root. The roots bark in the Holy Ghost. This means the numbing vapor that makes all lovers of Holy Christ sleep. 12th century eternal sleep ritual by Thomas of Persain. He's an Orthodox. For the mandragora symbolize aspiration through contemplation. This tranquility makes it possible for a person to fall asleep of such delightful sweetness. They will no longer feel anything of the cutting, which their earthly enemies visit upon them, that they no longer pay attention to worldly things, for the soul has now closed its eyes to all of the outside. It lies in the good sleep of the eternal. Peter of Hispania also became Pope John the 21st, endorsed the use of mandrake's wine as a treatment for infertility, found in what his book is called Treasury of the Poor. He writes in 1270, recommended for conception, which contrasts Dioscorides. He also writes of an ointment made of mandrake, henbane, opium, that should be rubbed on the testicles to extinguish all thoughts of lust.
Oh my God.
And then, of course, we know Saint Hildegard. We looked her up last time. She writes about it in a weird ritualistic way in Physica in the 12th CE. And then even more and more people. But I'll get to kind of the cool one. So in the 16th century book of Oberon, in order to see spirits, one had to use herba lucens, or the herb of light. Well, how do we know mandrake is a herb of light? Well, because in the 1st century CE, Flavius Josephus writes, mandrake sends out a certain ray of light. Josephus continues in the Antiquity of the Jews, mandrake drives away those called demons, which are none other than the spirits of the wicked. So given these accounts, those that cast out demons either did so as divine Power Rangers, or they did so with the mandrake, like the rest of the bloody superstitious world. In Mark 6:13, where the disciples drive out demons for many and heal the sick, are they using anointing oil to do that? Yeah, probably. And they're probably using a mandrake infused anointing oil to do that. In later texts in the 11th century Old English herbarium and the 12th century Harley manuscript states mandrake shines at night like a lamp. So it's pretty detailed in the church. But so that's all the nitty gritty. But overall content with what is Amen always talks about, he's absolutely correct. That the church was doing these things. They were endorsing these substances, right? And in many cases to seek the Godhead, right? But they were, so what that tells us, they were never really against the trance state to begin with. What they were against was the divine worship of the goddess. That's what
Okay.
they hated. That's what they were trying to basically stop. And then take all that and put it towards Yahweh and to Jesus. So that's really what the enemy was for them. It wasn't just the substances themselves, as we see here. And I think that's what Amon's kind of broader message is to the world, right? And that's why I still like to watch them, you know, personally. And the other comment I think is, before I jump off here, I think you should have Mandy on one-on-one.
Yes.
Mandy and I have spent a lot of time looking at sources together, but it's a lot more complex because he's bringing the comedic satire side of this into the text. And
Yes.
there's a lot of peer-reviewed papers that him and I have gone through that actually support what he says. And not only that, he does have legitimate sources for most of the things he's saying in the Greek space. But when we when we bring that into like Mark and other books, a lot of that does cross over 100%. And there's peer-reviewed, PhDs that wrote a bunch of papers on the satire of Mark, the abrupt ending of Mark and how that's a comedic way. And then obviously Mandy will fill you. I don't want to give all of his fire there, but he'll fill us in on all the other clues and hints as to why it pretty much is that. And also, if you look at the history of Greek, like people don't know this, and I was sharing this on It's the Blunt Life, and we were talking about it. We were doing it like history studies and stuff like that. Battles, we watch battle videos and stuff like that, like old ancient Greek battles. But essentially, there is something called the Greek Dark Ages, and very interesting to study because there was a period of time, about 200 years, where they weren't building much, they weren't even writing much, and then they had to bring back the language even. So the Phoenician language came back into the mix, and they changed it into their own way, and that became another version of the Greek. But out of that, you have these plays and stagecraft that comes out of that, kind of like making that comedic stance on what they were doing before that, right? And so it's kind of, it makes a lot of sense because that we kind of saw that in the Renaissance. It was almost like a mini Greek Renaissance that came about with all of these writers into the Hellenistic, a little bit before the Hellenistic period, but definitely, right into that area where they were talking about this. So it's really interesting just to match that up, and to me, why it makes a lot of sense just from a historical standpoint and historical account. They have even like we talk about form constants, which are like peer-reviewed academic LSD things that people see, geometric patterns and different patterns and things that people see on these hallucinations. Those things can get tied to the Greca, and there's even different periods of the Greca form constants in the geometry that they make and produce that go into the history as well. So it's all pretty interesting and wrapped together. But yeah, anyways, that's all. I'm gonna take off. I gotta go spend time with the kid today and all that. But yeah,
I feel you, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. Yeah, we'll get you on soon. But yeah, guys, we are gonna do Mandy. Gonna give him his own episode. One of these Friday nights. And so we'll have him eventually. And, I sent him the link today, but he's doing a bunch of crap today. So he might not want to jump on and get into the nitty gritty of it. Because obviously we have, 2 or 3 big talking points that he wanted to bring up as I finish the quest for the burning purple and where all of the different references that have come into that interpretation came from. And this book was about all kinds of other stuff, but the burning purple thing is it's gone through the other channels, but as something that everybody else was also trying to pinpoint, where is this even at? All right, so almost done.
It's everywhere we see this. So ancient China, I already showed you ancient Egypt, ancient China, you can read yourself, ancient Mesopotamia, and ancient India, and of course, ancient Greece. Galen was big with enemas, I think. So they have used up the ass treatments in
I think
antiquity for both medical purposes and for mystical purposes, religious purposes. It's very simple, very straightforward. Look here, even Celsus recommended nutrient enemas. And so did Galen. So you can check out all this stuff. It's very, very interesting and simple to look at. It's easy to find. So we need to understand that the rectal applications of medications in antiquity were used for healing and religious experiences. It's all dose dependent. And the thing interesting too about the Mesoamericans, the Aztec and the likes, their religious experiences when they did their enemas, they were done in a group setting, not dissimilar from what we're told in the Eleusinian mystery.
All right.
Chuck, what time is it?
Currently,
Not doing Neil deGrasse Tyson. Absolutely not. All right, guys. So I'm supposed to have Marcel jump on for a little bit, but real quick, while I'm going to the next, let me go to the next video I was going to play. And we got Gnostic Informant. All right, so I'm looking at his new videos. This is lives.
The contract that governs human relationship and forms the basis of societal life. In Sanskrit, Mitra translates to friend.
All right, so this is the deepest dive into Roman Mythras on the internet. Now, you will see some similarities between Mythras and some other people or some other things. Like if you look at the Statue of Liberty, it's got some of the headgear that you'll see Mythras wearing. You'll also see the Phrygian cap. You'll see a rod sometimes, the wizard staff, if you will. And there was things about Mythras that, if I'm not mistaken, was very similar to Christianity, only obviously they don't have the same story, but there's some similarities at least. And it looks like the Mithraic, well, I'll let this play. Let's let y'all.
Friend or friendship, akin to mir in Persian. In Zend, Mithra specifically refers to contract, which later became deified, following a path similar to Venus as the charm for the Romans. Mythras is mentioned in an agreement around 1380 BCE between the king of the Hittites and the Mitannic ruler. This treaty, discovered in 1907.
All right, so I did not know that the Mithraic stuff went back this far. I thought it was a later thing, but let's go.
At Bogoskoi, the ancient Hittite capital of Ankara, represents the.
Now let's back up just 1 second. So when we do
the king of the Hittites and the Mitannic ruler. This treaty, discovered in 1907 at Bogoskoi.
All right, so right here, guys. So one of the things that we saw when we were doing a dive into the Galli and the Inari was that this Hittite area here, everything that's in orange, or just honestly this entire landmass, this is where we were finding a lot of these androgynous priests. So just let it walk.
The ancient Hittite capital of Ankara represents the earliest evidence of Mythras in Asia Minor. It's so old that it's written in Sanskrit, but using cuneiform to write the Sanskrit before the alphabet existed. The sanctification of agreements between two parties is vital for the cohesion of any community. In Vedic tradition, Mythras.
Here we go. All right. So Tiger Shark was just talking about this in the comments. He said this goes back a little bit further.
Is revered as one who unites people. Accordingly, he safeguards adherence to principles of proper conduct. Mythras is envisioned as a cosmic overseer responsible for maintaining the.
I'm not going to say that looks like a mushroom, but
universal order by sustaining heaven and earth. This echoes the Atlas Mythras, depicted centuries later in Roman-era reliefs and artwork. Mythras observes all, akin to the sun. He is the great eye. He is a just and benevolent deity who fosters harmony, prosperity, and health. Among his Greco-Roman initiates, Mythras symbolized the guarantor of oaths and the protector and promoter.
Now, look at this little horseshoe-looking design over it. It's an ovular, but he's got the little mushroom cap over his head here.
Of animal and plant life. In Vedic theology, Varuna and Mythras collectively embody two aspects of sovereignty within the Indo-European tradition. Georges Dumézil identified these roles in the first two kings of Rome, Romulus and Numa.
Apparently, Rome is the name. It comes from Romulus.
Romulus exemplified strength imbued with mythical and magical qualities, while Numa represented justice and priestly law. As Dumézil observed, justice cannot exist independently of the foundational strength necessary. The epigraphy of Persepolis and the biographical accounts related to the royal family associated with the Achaemenid court reveal Mithras' widespread and fervent following. Theophoric names like Mithridates offer compelling evidence of the populace's desire to seek.
It sounds like an Eastern name, Mithra, Krishna, Mithra, sort of has a similar.
His divine patronage. This religious tradition, running parallel to the official cult, endured the collapse of the Persian Empire and the upheavals that followed Alexander's conquest, as well as the collapse of the Seleucid Empire. Iranian colonies and the aristocracies of Asia Minor notably preserved their cultural identity, with numerous local dynasties asserting their connection to the prestige of an Achaemenid lineage. Mythras prominently figures in the pantheon of kings from Armenia, Cappadocia, Pontus, and Commagene. The Parthian dynasty of the Arsacids, originating from northeastern Iran, often included Mythras in their regnal names. This tradition began with Mithridates I, the Great.
What I had heard, sorry guys, I have a mic mute. My mic muted. I heard that it was extremely popular with the Romans right around the same time as Jesus the Christ. Let's go.
Whose era some scholars associate with the composition of the 10th Yasht. Likewise, the monarchs of Pontus, the Bosphorus, and the Commagene bore the sacred theophoric name, meaning given by Mythras. According to Cumant, the Magi in Babylonia operated under the influence of Chaldean astrology. More recently, arguments scrutinizing the iconography of Mythras have drawn attention to this petrographic representation. This depiction of Mythras is believed to stem from Akkadian imagery of Shamash emerging from a mountain. J. Carcapino described
Yeah, I was totally muted, guys. Sorry.
Roman religion during Caesar's era, claiming Mythras then recruited his followers. Cumant, drawing a comparison between the Iranian diaspora and the Jewish communities, speculated that Mithraism might have taken root in Rome's Trastevere district, citing Plutarch's reference to the Cilician pirates who joined Pompey the Great's army around 63 BCE, right around the time when Mithraism starts to become a thing in Roman religion. This is deduced from certain signs historians have extensively debated. Historical evidence linking Mithras to Rome does not emerge until Nero's reign. After 8 years of war between Rome and Parthia, the latter recognized Roman supremacy over Armenia. In 66 CE, Armenia's king traveled to Rome to receive his crown from Nero. According to Pliny the
See that Phrygian hat?
Elder, Tiridates of the Arsacid lineage was accompanied by magi who introduced Nero to the ritual banquets. When Tiridates approached Nero, he prostrated himself at the emperor's feet, saluting him as a god and bestowing upon him the name Mythras. Nero's heliacal and Apollonian aspirations were evident in a colossal 35-meter high statue representing the sun with Nero's face within a vestibule of his golden house, designed as a solar palace. Mithraism had already penetrated Rome and the imperial cult. If Pliny's mention of magic banquets indeed paralleled Mithraic rites, this would imply that the mysteries of Mythras had evolved among the Parthians, given that Tiridates was the brother of King Vologeses. These banquets may have been tied to Persian coronation rituals described by Plutarch, where the Magi officiated and required sovereigns to partake in symbolic foods like
Eating up some food right now, guys. But like I said, I'm going to be here all day, kind of just doing this. Other people are going to jump on. And yeah, stay tuned.
figs, cakes, terebinth, and whey. Nero being hailed as Mythras likely stemmed from the emperor conferring on Tiridates the consecration of royal power, which Mythras still symbolized. Corbulo's campaigns played a key role in the spread of Mithraism, as homage from the Arsacid rulers to Caesar may have facilitated Mithras' integration into the Roman army. Recruits from Galatia, Cappadocia, and legions stationed in Armenia, regions deeply connected to Mythras, were instrumental. In 71 or 72, the 15th Legion was transferred to Carnuntum, a move with significant religious implications along the Danube. A centurion of foreign descent, known as Barbarus, is recorded to have consecrated an altar to Mythras here. Vespasian's 4th Legion of Macedonica, which had opposed the Parthians and the Jews, expressed devotion to the invincible sun. The 2nd Legion, formed in 69 from freedmen of Az.
I didn't know any of this. I couldn't have told you any of the dates of any of this or the legions or anything. No.
Asiatic origin, served in Britain before being deployed under Trajan. By the 1st century CE, Roman annexation of vassal kingdoms such as Cappadocia, Pontus, and Armenia Minor likely fueled the influx of Eastern religious currents such as Mithraism. Much like Egyptian and Syrian cults, Eastern slaves accompanying Corbulo and Titus may have...
Right here you see 2 people for sale. Got the Nianisco.
have also contributed to the Romanization of Iranian influences. One of the earliest epigraphic references to Mithraic devotion in Anatolia is a bilingual dedication in Latin and Greek by an imperial freedman, a former slave who had entered the service of Titus and later Domitian. Around the same period, or shortly after, an agricultural slave named Tiberius Claudius Livianus, who eventually became the Praetorian prefect in 101 CE, dedicated a sculpted group to the sun.
So Pretoria sounds like the place that Peter Griffin made on Family Guy.
Mythras, Sol Invictus Mythras, now housed in the British Museum. This artifact stands as the oldest known and dated example of the iconic bull-slaying figure. However, it won't be the oldest mention of Mythras as a solar deity, because back in 63 BCE, Antiochus, the last of the Seleucids, dedicates a stele to Helios Mithras Apollo. Livianus's devotion was notable enough to receive poetic mention by Martial in his epigrams, who compares two slaves from the same household to the mythological Castor and Pollux, highlighting
Gemini. I'm a Gemini now.
their significant standing with the imperial retinue. Statius, another poet
What in the world is going on with my sound?
in Hellenistic tradition, root encapsulates the concept of
Oh my God. What on earth happened? Y'all hear that?
exchange, or the contract that governs human relationship and forms the basis
That is scratchy as shit. Let's try something else. Sorry, y'all. Something must have messed up. Let's see. Let's take this. Sorry, give me 1 second. 1 second. And I'll keep on with this. All right. Not sure what's going on here. Real quick, guys, just to let you know what's going on if you're watching. I'm playing this video, and now the sound magically got super scratchy out of nowhere. So let's see what I can do to make this a little bit better. Marcel should be jumping on in a little bit, but he's been staying up late working on his channel and stuff, so he might be asleep. Let's see what's up. Nope, still messing up. Sorry, y'all. I'm checking my stuff. In the meantime, while we are waiting on me to fix this, all right, what's going on, y'all? So, hey, y'all let me know in the comments if it's still scratchy, because it seems to be, but even when I play that, here's what we're going to do. Wow. Guys, I'll be back in just a second. I'm fixing it. All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm back. Seems okay. I keep hearing myself twice, but it's all good. All right, so let's go to another one, guys. Let's go to, let's see, YouTube. See what we got going on. Let me go to what I was just watching. There we go. Finally. Let's share screen with your mom. All right, everybody. Thank you for holding out for me.
Exchange, or the contract that governs human relationship and forms the basis of societal life. In Sanskrit, mitra translates to friend or friendship, akin to mir in Persian. In Zen, Mithra specifically refers to contract, which later became deified, following a path similar to Venus as the charm for the Romans. Mythras is mentioned in an agreement around 1380 BCE between the king of the Hittites and the Mitannic ruler. This treaty, discovered in 1907 at Bogoskoy, the ancient Hittite capital of Ankara, represents the earliest evidence of Mythras in Asia Minor. It's so old that it's written in Sanskrit, but using cuneiform to write the Sanskrit before the alphabet existed. The sanctification of agreements between two parties shortly after, an act echoing how the Iliad and like Syracuse, Catana, and Palermo, and in Campanian hubs such as Naples and Pozzuoli, on islands such as Ponza, Ischia, and Capri, and in coastal towns like Antium, Ostia.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just saying hi to everyone who's here. In a little bit, we're going to have Marcel here. And just stay tuned. You know, we're not really doing like a typical episode today, but I did want to do something. It's just I've been real busy and want to make sure we have the right time slot available for Mandy when that does come. So
Aquilae on the Adriatic, the Alexandrian deities had already established a foothold. Further inland, Mithraic sanctuaries were active in Latium, southern Etruria, Umbria, Cisalpine Gaul, typically located along key traffic routes. These sanctuaries also extended to smaller townships on the periphery, with evidence dating to the Antonine era until the 4th century. The Urbs itself likely hosted around 100 Mithraea, 20 identified at the Ostia excavation site.
real quick, I'm just going to say, guys, this is an amazing documentary on Mythras.
Oldest of these dates back to the reign of Antonius Pius around 150 to 160 CE. On various painted or carved panels, a ray emanates from the sun, often
Real quick, guys, we have a comment down here at the bottom. Go ahead and read it with me. There are various forms of Salvia divinorum. The Mexican mint, marigold, also contains it in the Maya and Aztecs utilized in the ritual. So I don't know if we're talking about marigold or Salvia divinorum, but Salvia divinorum is, if I'm not mistaken, at one point was legal to grow in South Carolina. And I heard that from Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia one day when he was doing a rebuttal to his own work. And one of the problems with Salvia divinorum, let's go ahead and do it. Fuck it. Let's go to his channel real quick. Yeah, there we go. All right, guys. All right, guys. You see what we're looking at? You see what we're looking at? All right, so real quick, guys. Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. If I'm not mistaken, this guy has a PhD in either chemistry or something, you know, relative to conducting this research on entheogenic plants, roots, substances, if you will. But let's go full screen. All right, guys, this is going to be a good one. Let's go.
Allow me to introduce you to the most unusual trans-neoclaridane diterpene.
Now, real quick, guys, Salvia, I have heard, is for sale in different head shops around the U.S. Maybe they've done, I don't know what the recent legality and legislation on it is, if they've banned it or what, but there is a movie called Game Over Man with the dudes from Workaholics, where in the beginning of the movie, he smokes Salvia, and then they kind of torture him by hanging a used condom above his eyes while he's tripping out on Salvia. Definitely go watch Game Over Man. Got some really great actors in it, and it's very funny. Definitely, you know, you can unbutton your pants when you watch this. It's a real it's a piss for sure. But Salvia divinorum, you're gonna hear the biggest flaw to utilizing Salvia divinorum. But one of the things that I did gather was that if you do this correctly, and it's all in the administration. So this is where you can't just smoke anything. You can't just shove anything up your ass. Certain substances have a preferred way of utilizing them based on the side effects and the effects that it gives you. Pay attention to this, all right? Because this could definitely be something that could change. This could be something that's accessible quicker because it's already in the States. It's already in head shops. It's just you're going to find out soon why they got it wrong and how this would need to be done for it to be done the right way and not have all the terrible side effects that smoking dried salvia has been causing people.
Found in nature. Its origins are obscure. Its natural distribution, controversial. I've been fascinated by psychoactive drugs my whole life. I love to study their chemistry and impact on society. And my work has allowed me to investigate extraordinary substances around the world. Yet there are still mysteries that remain. For years, I've hoped to see this ovate leaf in its natural habitat. It's new to our culture, but familiar to the shamans who've cultivated the plant for generations. This is the story of Salvia divinorum.
So once again, they made it illegal because a mom's teenage son yeeted himself after consuming it. Of course, they blame the plant and not the pre-existing issues with the teen. So one of the big things that I want to say on the show, just as a disclaimer, is that nobody should be jumping on any entheogens if there's anything physically wrong with you, right? But even though people might have some mental ailments, if you take something the wrong way and the effect is too strong, if that causes somebody that is dealing with any kind of psychosis or depression or anxiety or something, if it causes them to go off the deep end, then perhaps that wouldn't have been the right candidate for this sort of research. But let's keep moving forward. And I got to have my wife on soon to talk about a lot of this stuff, because this is what her degree is in.
There's a plant that holds a special place in my heart. It's a rare, perennial sage called Salvia divinorum that's only been found growing in a 200 square mile decagon of mountain wilderness in Oaxaca.
Oaxaca is where Maria Sabina, who Tiger Shark has mentioned several times, as well as myself. Maria Sabina is from this town in Mexico, where people have gone and done mushrooms. And then they wrote about it in Rolling Stone magazine, or whatever I forgot what magazine it was. I think it was Rolling Stone, but Gordon Wasson. But shit, I can't remember now.
Mexico. The plant is consumed ceremonially by the indigenous Mazatec people, who refer to it as Shka pastora, or the shepherdess. Glandular trichomes lining the underside of its leaves secrete a resin containing salvinorin A, the world's most
Salvinorin A. All right, so that's what we're looking for.
Potent, naturally occurring psychedelic. For generations, Mazatec shamans were the only ones with intimate knowledge of salvia's psychoactivity. But in the 1990s, it entered the commercial market as a smokable extract that often frightened users who were unprepared for its extraordinary potency. I first became interested in salvia as a teenager when I extracted and purified salvinorin A, leading to a lifelong interest in
This guy has got some balls.
psychedelics and chemistry. I'm even working on a new extraction procedure with my friend, Dr. Monroe. But my investigation into salvia is far from complete. I want to meet those who are most devoted to understanding the plant, and finally, to search.
Bro, you ain't gonna put no damn light above those plants? They look like shit. Here's a San Pedro growing in the middle of this guy's apartment.
For it in its natural habitat. Scientists
Like, seriously, where the hell is your plant light, you freaking scientist?
have been studying Salvia divinorum since the 1950s. However, the most important discovery didn't come from a university lab, but from the kitchen of an amateur botanist named Daniel Siebert.
I need to send you some cuttings of that because then I can.
Named Tiger Shark.
Siebert wasn't the first to use salvia or isolate salvinorins. He was the first person to have what is now considered a typical smoked salvia experience.
When you totally lose every connection to your body and the physical world, it's pretty hard to be comfortable with that. And I can see why the Mazatecs used it as a ceremonial medicine, because it does this. It gets you into this internal space where you can kind of see things more clearly. At least
I just like how it's a little bit more openly discussed with the South and Central American and North American cultures. I don't know if that's because of the goalposts that they've moved their establishment and gentrifications unwanted from them at times. And this is something that Tiger Shark's talked about, is kind of a negative impact that's affected his family directly just within a few generations. Let's go.
can, if you use it with that intention. It was a really obscure plant. I just kind of grew it as an interesting curiosity in my collection. People thought that the plant only worked if you chewed fresh leaves. I thought one thing I haven't tried is making an extract according to a published procedure that I had come across for extracting salvinorin A. So I did that in my kitchen, and I've experimented with lots of different plant extracts before, and never seen an extract that looked like that. It just had this iridescent sparkliness about it. And then I thought, wait a minute, that's probably crystals in suspension. Sure enough, you can see.
Hey, we got a great comment here. I was talking about the lighting. Yes, there are some plants that really don't need too much too much light, and but I will say that at first glance, those plants, I don't know what they grow like, but they looked a little weak to me. A lot of times growing stuff without any light can produce kind of a weak, a windowsill, depending on the plant. You're absolutely right though, Mandy. It might not actually require that much. I'm going to look that up actually while we're going. But yeah. Son of a bitch.
Little crystals floating around in there. And I just thought, wait a minute, maybe I should test a little bit of it. I waited a little while and didn't seem like anything was happening. And then all of a sudden, I was just gone to this reality. I was just in some disembodied state, completely disorientating, and I didn't know where I was. Suddenly, I noticed that it wasn't my house, that it was my grandparents' house, the way it was when I was a child. And not only was I in the wrong place, it seemed like I was in the wrong place in history. It was scary. I thought I had died. I didn't know what happened. I was just gone. And then eventually, somehow, I did come back to my house and looked around. I just was like, wow, that was amazing and weird. I'm so glad to be alive. And then it hit me like, this is it. This is the chemical that's responsible for the mind-altering effects of salvin RNA. No question about it.
Siebert's kitchen extraction opened the door to the commercialization of salvia, first as a curiosity for the psychedelic elite, and soon after as a fixture in head shops across the country.
So now people knew that the plant contained a powerful hallucinogen and how to go about getting effects from it.
Entrepreneurs recognized the opportunity to profit from a new drug that was both potent and legal, and supplied salvia to a public with no understanding of the plant or its origins. The effects of smoked salvia extracts are dramatic.
So that's one of the big things that I was hearing, was that the effects of smoking it versus the effects in another way of administering it were significantly different.
Immediate onset, short duration, and a complete loss of connection to consensus reality. And starting in 2005, a video hosting service called YouTube made it possible to share these once private experiences with the entire world. The videos were like nothing I'd ever seen. They were riveting and hilarious. But few users seemed to enjoy the experience, and most tried it only once. However, one person built an empire.
Hello, and welcome to Gardening on Salvia. I'm Eric, your host.
With nothing more than a video camera, a bong, and a bag of 20x salvia extract.
I couldn't think of any person who loved salvia just because of the weirdness of doing it.
Hello, and welcome to Driving on Salvia. I'm Eric, your host. You're going to hold it in for about 20 seconds or until your vision begins to vibrate.
How did you first find out?
All right, so I was looking up light requirements. So we got to find our PPFD. And I'm just going to go to Sage. Salvia isn't on here, but Sage 2 to 400. And let's go to cannabis real quick. Vegetative 250 to 600. That is accurate. Seedling 1 to 300, and then flowering 500 to 1,000. So I used to grow cannabis, right? And whenever they were seedlings, I'd have that light cut down to where the measured PPFD would be between 100 300. Then in the veg stage, we'd bump it up, and then obviously for flowering, we bump it up. So it looks like it's at the lower end for sure. However, that was just Sage. It wasn't Salvia divinorum. But what I will say is that is super low, but still need a light to get that to happen. The windowsill won't be good enough, but let's go.
About salvia. My friends went out and bought some and tried it, came over and they were like, Eric, this stuff is hilarious. And we watched a couple of YouTube videos. And I was like, this is what it does to people? They're like, yeah, try it. Like, all right. And so I smoked it in the living room over there and like just kind of faded out. It's like you trapped inside of a kaleidoscope feeling a little bit. You can lose any sense of reality while you're on it. The joke is that you can't get anything done on this shit ever. And it's just like a how-to video. And you just take a hit of salvia beforehand every time.
First, step one is we're going to smoke our salvia.
You say that you were having a spiritual experience during those videos?
Bro, this dude don't give a shit.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely a spiritual experience, but it was like a battle every time I smoked it. I don't like losing control. And that's exactly what salvia is. It just takes over. You're just like uncomfortable, but also very funny. So it's completely worth making videos of.
What began as a simple household gag went viral. And for Eric, there was no turning back.
For some reason, it connects.
Yeah.
With a shitload of people.
News coverage, such as this segment on ABC's Nightline,
Type in the word salvia.
sensationalized a drug that most users found
How fucking old is this video? Holy shit.
unpleasant, and few had tried more than once.
Out of their minds.
Their scare stories served to incite a moral panic about salvia's perceived dangers.
Salvia. Miley Cyrus allegedly tried it.
Everything changed in 2010 when Miley Cyrus was recorded smoking a salvia
Well, now I have to do it because Miley's doing it.
extract and mistook Friday Night Lights actor Gray Damon for her at-the-time ex-boyfriend, but future fiancé, Liam Hemsworth. Officials were quick to condemn it and cited videos such as those by Salvia Eric as evidence of the drug's abuse.
Excuse me. I have to go to space now.
As of 2016, salvia has been prohibited in 26 states and controlled in most others.
Now, I thought you could grow it in South Carolina, but whatever.
The easy access, that's all.
At the time, later on, he did say that in a different documentary.
After this drug is very disconcerting.
I was blown away when I saw my comedy drug video with a cat in it getting played in front of a room full of legislators.
A little cat jumps up on the front of the car. They don't know how to handle it. He sees monsters there.
They passed his bill in 2011, despite the fact that it has probably some medical use.
Do you feel any personal responsibility?
I want to say no, because I'd like to think that anyone should be able to make fun of anything. Now I'm not quite so sure, because it seemed to just have gotten it into a whole hell of a lot of trouble.
Well, it's like when Jackass was a thing. Everybody was doing those pranks and stuff, and these moms wanted to make these reports about, if it wasn't for Jackass, my son wouldn't have jumped off my roof into the pool and broken his arm or whatever.
Although the videos helped contribute to the drug's prohibition, they also provided an unprecedented data set.
Hi, I'm Hamilton. I'm Jim.
James Lang is a sociologist who wanted to study how salvia is used in a naturalistic environment.
YouTube was an amazing archive of experiences of this drug, and they resolve within the time frame of a typical YouTube video. So you could actually document an entire trip. Things like coordination loss, speaking difficulties, the hand to the face, that kept happening.
Why do I feel like this is the joke they were making in the movie 21 Jump Street when the kids were all doing that drug they called shit?
Happening as well, sort of hysterical laughter. These are all clues to say what parts of the brain is being affected by this drug. It's really common to see folks try to leave the environment. It has something to do with kind of a fight or flight, coordination loss.
Holy shit.
Some have criticized these sort of videos as tarnishing the entheogenic approach to salvia, where people are using it for some sort of spiritual purpose. These are documents of people's use of drugs, and we can learn from them.
The American Salvia Revolution would have never occurred without the work of a small group of Mexican researchers who identified the plant, studied its chemistry, and documented its use by the indigenous Mazatecs of Oaxaca.
So apparently, Oaxaca is known for a few different things.
In 1973, Mexican psychiatrist Jose Luis Diaz participated in a traditional salvia ceremony and published his findings in a seminal report, Ethnopharmacology and Taxonomy of Mexican Psychodyspeptic Plants.
The salvia plant extract, is that used frequently in Mexico?
The extract?
Yeah.
I understand it is, but I have never seen it used.
Shamanic history is something that people in the United States are not entirely familiar with, and you did important early work on that subject.
It was quite an adventure. It was my first field trip, so it was quite important in my academic and personal life. It was the first time that somebody reported shamanic ceremony and participant ceremony with salvia. For the Mazatecs, all of these plants are sacred, are actually incarnations of deities. When we went in 1973, there was no previous information about what Salvia divinorum did. We were lucky to find a Mazatec Indian. He was quite careful at the beginning. He sent me to a shaman, a lady called Julia Aurelia Palacios. Fortunately, she had a nephew, an apprentice, who was more or less bilingual, so we were able to communicate. It was the first time, actually, that shaman had been in contact with a non-Mazatec person. What she did was to question me carefully about what my intentions were, and finally she understood that I was interested in witnessing a divination ceremony. The ceremonies are very interesting from a psychopharmacologist's point of view, because they are expression of a deep knowledge of the plant and its effects that has been gathered from generation to generation for many years.
No one has ever recorded a video of those ceremonies, and there's very little written about it.
As far as I know, there's no well-done recording of a salvia ceremony.
"40 years have passed since Diaz did his fieldwork in the Sierra Mazateca, and I hope to learn if the traditions he observed have remained the same."
I like this, but guys, you got to hold out for the part where, here we go, he actually does it.
When Spanish colonists arrived in Mexico, they persecuted or killed those who refused to abandon their traditional beliefs. Many indigenous groups preserved their spiritual practices within a Christian framework, resulting in a syncretic religion that worships plants, fungi, and Catholic saints simultaneously. After I followed a procession through the street, I met a locally renowned shaman named Julieta, who invited me back to her house and offered to perform a salvia ceremony. But when I asked if I could film the ceremony,
here we go,
she accused me of being a druggie and referred me to another shaman named Inez.
Oh my God, this lady, can I film it? No.
Inez offered me a fine cigar and a cigarette chaser, but she told me she never used salvia and suggested I speak with a shaman named Filigonio. Filigonio had used salvia, but only when the
So he went to one lady, she was going to do it, but said no way. And then the next lady, all she did was give him a cigar and a cigarette. And then this guy.
mushrooms weren't in season. He invited me to partake in a mushroom ceremony, which I said I'd consider later. Outside Filigonio's house, I met an alcohol enthusiast who knew about UFOs, but not much else. So I headed back to my hotel in defeat. I'm worried that I can't convince people that my intentions in this research are pure. And salvia is a drug that means a lot to me. It was the first psychedelic drug I ever used. It was what got me interested in psychedelic drugs and psychoactive drugs in general. And to be able to see firsthand the way they do it and how they choose the appropriate dose and how they care for the plants and how they prepare the leaves, all that would be amazing. How they sing during the rituals. I'd love to see all of those things. On my second day in Huautla, I contacted a trilingual local named Luis. He spoke English, Spanish, and Mazatec.
Hey, ¿qué tal?
He offered to take me to an area where he heard wild salvia could be found. On the way, he told me of the nearby caves, which are some of the deepest in the Western Hemisphere and feature prominently in the superstitions of the Mazatec.
Estamos aquí. Es por acá.
Is that whistling a big part of the Mazatec language?
Yeah, whistling, yeah. It's because we have this tonal language and we can have a conversation by whistling.
Tonal language?
Tonal language, yeah, like Chinese.
Luis mentioned the local legend of a goatman apparition called El Chato, who's known to stalk the caves and offer passers-by enormous sums of money in exchange for their penises.
Bienvenido a la
Oh! Penis exchange.
caverna.
Should we go in?
I don't know.
Is it dangerous?
Yeah, mucha gente se ha perdido aquí en estas cuevas.
Wait, it's like an altar? What is it? There's a mysterious plank laid across these two stones. What it means and why it's here, I can't say. I've heard conflicting reports about whether or not these caves have any role in the traditional healing ceremonies, but they're certainly amazing to look at.
¿Todo bien?
It's amazing inside.
Sí. He told me that we need to go.
While I was exploring the cave, Luis had spoken to the son of a shaman who agreed to meet us up the road.
Finally, Nacho.
Nacho was his name, and he seemed to know exactly where he was going.
could have told you from across the parking lot that this guy knew where the good stuff was.
¿Y tú para qué venís hasta acá a probar la salvia? Si allá también puedes conseguir.
I want to see how people are able to get the full benefits of the plant, how people are able to use the plant responsibly.
La salvia no es cualquier cosa tomar por tomar. No son drogas para nosotros. Es una planta medicinal. Lo vamos a meter por acá.
Is the salvia that we're looking for growing in the wild, or is someone cultivating it?
Hamilton's little legs probably tired now walking up that steep mountain.
Mira, la salvia.
You get that phone in that back pocket.
Aquí nace solito.
What a great day to wear his white outfit. He's so tall. Look at these high waters.
Aquí es la planta de salvia.
There it is.
Todo esto, lo que ves acá, son salvia. Tú puedes cortar las hojas nada más y dejamos el tallo para que crezca más. Tú lo vas a cortar porque tú lo vas a consumir.
Okay. It has a very distinctive square stem. The plant can then fall over and sprout new roots. How many leaves would you recommend I take?
Mira, 30 hojas y que sean frescos.
See. The leaves are traditionally collected in pairs. I'm trying to do the same thing.
Toma, lo conservas ahí.
28, 29. One more leaf.
30 leaves? Holy God.
I've selected 30 Salvia divinorum leaves from different plants. They vary in size and color and freshness. It's an amazing opportunity to try this plant. With 30 leaves as my ticket, I was taken to meet Nacho's mother, the Salvia shaman.
I think I saw Jesus Christ.
Usted le das a la jefa.
Hola.
She got that look in her eyes like, ha ha, I'm about to fuck you up, kid.
Está bueno. Ga shifa ay chuta ni shifa ay Mexico na wa ay ni na sihena ongo kine to ja to tiki chuta jimele ndishka ropa kijo isa toa ijo sashkon hebe
Y to kwasin chineshkola. To hauko yala. To richena niki yashibakale la.
gata be chuta chinganga sa inja to tsene a kwini shi che chuta chinganga sa gatsi kei le ni tanga machine hunga sa anga kwatse.
Where I live in the United States, salvia is considered a problem because many people make videos of themselves using the plant that make the plant look ridiculous.
Nyoshko ninga kose si kwa nindishka jukwa nga to he kwa ninganda si onganda gaji pastora mi heshka jukwa kuita ki teni nananga sa ikinja hini tierra gata ki te.
Y más tarde nos vamos al río, donde tú puedes viajar tranquilo.
That sounds good. Es bueno.
Di mandishke nika.
Es bueno.
Nyo kwa respeto vicha ale he jukwa vi.
The Mazatecs administer salvia in two ways, as a strained juice and rolled leaves, which are chewed and swallowed.
Ihina kini soji siuyeni e kichena. Nga yihe rote. Nga yihe rote shkabe. Nga isi. Nga kwai nga siuyale nga kwanandale.
Well, this doesn't look fun at all, but let's keep going. Said mom got that Patagonia vest.
Katabilan he. Esta madre, mi nombre es Padre, el Hijo, Espíritu Santo. Você que tá sukule.
All right, right here is what the fuck I am talking about. We have a Christian woman, apparently, from all the freaking dolls and ornaments and stuff in their house. And they have a sacramental drink that's going to change this man's life. And in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, he will drink this. This is all I'm saying the religion started out as. And now you get this invisible product and a lot of weird memories.
I said, and that's spirito. Hey, pastora. Yeah.
This is it. This is the moment. This is exactly what Christians can't explain every year when they drink that Welch's grape juice. Obviously, this isn't the substance that they would have been using back when Christianity was dawning, but you know.
I barely feel the salvia effect at all, but the liquid is incredibly bitter. There's quite a bit left.
Get this.
Hail Mary, full of grace, here it comes. This is like the best episode I probably could have ever had right now.
Dinana pastora, di sere di ciogliare din aistina tischiri tischari dinana pastora di secoi atamachugliale dai l'ingagno ngacciare ngashkire ngashkare aseti secoi dinana pastora.
After consuming all 30 leaves, there's no visual distortion, no auditory distortion. I am resistant to the effects, or I'm not experiencing much. Is that a bad thing? Should I be looking for a higher effect or appreciating a low effect?
Kisho kasikauna itso chota kisho kasikauna sa mejo kwatina kota mejo he shitina ndena sa tisho metina kisho kasikauna nyo sho ni shishi kauna kwasi kauna.
It was a beautiful ceremony, but the drug effect is very mild. Do you want me to carry anything for you? You carry your bag?
No. Vamos? No.
Tomorrow I'm going to meet with the shaman again. I'm going to try a higher dose. I may chew the leaves instead of drinking the aqueous extract as I did today.
So this particular extraction method might not have been the best because what they're trying to get off the leaf might still be primarily on the leaf.
took researchers decades to understand Salvia divinorum's activity, and my experience drinking its juice explains why. Salvinorin A is unlike any other naturally occurring psychedelic. It's an unusually large molecule that lacks a basic nitrogen. It's insoluble in water and rapidly hydrolyzed by enzymes in the intestine. As a result, the leaves lose all activity when swallowed and must be absorbed through prolonged contact with mucous membranes. When I returned to Francisca's house, she told me my clothing had scared away the spirit of the plant, and it would be necessary for me to wear the traditional clothes of a Huateco man.
We're about to go out and hunt for Salvia divinorum in the moonlight. And they told me that I had to keep my hand inside the shell. Okay, there's so much here. Probably 50 or 60 biggest salvia plants I've ever seen.
Están bonitos. Allá, tú empiezas a cortar todos esos.
He got the whole freaking plant in his hand now.
Llévalo.
30 leaves. Many of them have been extensively eaten by insects.
A ver, está limpia.
All right, so once again, I like how she's doing this.
¿Quiere? Come, come. Así. Siéntate. Acá. Ani si nishkiri, nishkali, ni tsakatamandaya, tsakatamandaya nashala, tsakatamandaya, janyule. Tsana skakatazo, tsakatacha, tsakatazo, tsakatavana, ekatavanata. ¿Cómo se llama?
Hamilton.
Hamilton. Gasinganda na amito. Ho inda ho nangi amito. Gasinganda to inda do nangi. Tichuko son, tichuko tai. Tsati shkiri, tsati chuyali, di pastora.
Based off the music, I think that he's about to take off into space.
I can feel it now.
See.
It's a very good, beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful sensation.
All right, the way he's talking, the way he's nodding his head, he's getting what he's been looking for now.
Ho inda nangi, ho ja ho nangi, dai. Kwa vena chung, kwa la, shi ni he ta le he, shi ti na nga mi.
My visual field was dominated by a singular, intense light source that gradually enveloped me.
The light and this seashell that I was given in these leaves, every sensation is as if it's pulling me back into my chair. And the sound of the music is turning into waves lips that are then pouring over me. And everything is very hot. And it's truly amazing.
All right, so he's going. So from what we've noticed, smoking it, not the best. Extracting it with water, not doing it, but eating it seems to be giving him what he's looking for.
As the Salvinorin A coursed through my blood, I reached a state of bliss I never knew possible.
Oh, it's coming over me. It's almost indescribable in its sensation. It's such a strange, flowing, full body shape, weight that's pouring over me. Oh my God.
Clearly, he's figured it out. And this lady sent him straight where he wanted to go. She's like, I had a machete behind you. Might as well move that right now.
Oh, wow.
Can
we lay down? Is that possible?
Sí, sí, sí. Sí, 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 sí. Sí, sí. Sí, sí. Para mí, ella mi, para mí, celestial. Dice que en lina estena, você dice que son dice que tan en lina estena. Dice que en lina.
Shaman Francisca initiated a series of rites to summon the spirit of the plant and used different techniques to physically distribute the medicine through my body. It had taken hold of me, and I became vulnerable to every gesture, every incantation offered by the shaman. I reached a transformed state of being when the shaman asked me to dance.
Bueno.
I freaking love this lady. Kick your feet. Oh, man.
Bonito hasta pastora.
As I danced with the shaman under the moonlight, I felt the rhythm of the salvia from my machete to my conch.
Pastora. Está bueno. Acá, siéntate. Siéntate ya. Sí. Cuando te cogí, tengo combinación.
Wow. That is amazing. It's not over at all. I don't even know how long it's been. I have no idea how long it's been. 2:24. So it has been hours. Scott Pastora.
Sí.
Amazing plant.
Está bonito, pastora.
The greatest plant. Everything he just went through doesn't seem like it would be too much for people to handle, you know.
From a person interested in consciousness like I am, I just have to respect the degree of sophistication and of subtlety that these people have concerning consciousness states. This is what it's all about. The central thing is consciousness. And these people are sophisticated consciousness experts.
Está bien. Está bien. Asahan jakina. Tovela pehi peraye.
Oh, it's just amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, sorry, I should say gracias, 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 gracias. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The songs were very beautiful.
Last night I had my first traditional Salvia ceremony in Huautla de Jimenez, and it was an amazing experience, and I'm going to leave Huautla loving it even more than I did before. Last night was one of the best experiences of my life.
Sí, es normal. Sí, para ti fue bonito, ¿no? Porque se lo tomaste con respeto.
What did your mother think of the ceremony last night?
Mi madre piensa que estuvo un viaje bonito y viajaste fuerte.
Did she not like that I laughed or that I lay on the ground, or is that typical for these ceremonies?
No, fue normal con Salvia. Pues yo te deseo mejor.
I like how he's riding the donkey.
El viaje allá.
Gracias.
Jesus riding the donkey.
I kind of feel like I'm not allowed back there anymore
because you've hurt the Salvia gods.
I never really did it with the best of intentions.
You should write a letter.
Let's see. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to cut out for a little bit, take a break. I had Marcel was going to jump on for a little bit, but we're not going to worry about it. I'll catch you guys soon, and soon be on the lookout for the Quest for the Burning Purple. We're going to be bringing Mandy Moorhall on in the next week or so to do a deeper dive into the final piece of this whole thing that I've been doing for about a year now. So anyway, I'll see y'all soon.